Now, the last and critically important pillar to having optimal libido and erections on TRT, which by the way gets missed completely in the TRT forums on Reddit and elsewhere, and gets missed completely among men that are on TRT, like, oh, this is supposed to help libido and erections. Yeah, generally it does. Assuming that your thyroid hormones are an adequate quantity. The perfect TRT protocol for libido and erections. That is the topic of this video. Look, the internet is a great thing, but what it does is add so much additional information to what it should be just a simple approach that it just convolutes everything. And that is especially relative to TRT. Guys just read stuff on Reddit or read stuff on a different forum and get these ideas and change their protocol and think that they don't have to manage estrogen or think they have to be on 1 milligram of arimidex every day. There's just so much confusing information out there, and so people just can't dial their protocol in. In addition, yes, testosterone and managing the sex hormones is a critical influencer of libido and erection quality. However, things like thyroid hormone output are also pretty critical for that whole dynamic. In the end, I have worked with guys over many years and seen various doses do various things. Various doses trigger a certain degree of aromatization into estrogen. And though I don't like being general because it seems it's different for different guys depending on how they metabolize tests, etc., I'm going to give you what is overarchingly, in my personal data, the best TRT protocol for libido and erections. Stay tuned. All right, a couple critical coupon codes for you guys for discounts on product. Number one, the Supercharged Dopamine Speed Course. This is the holy grail of dopamine hacking. Is 20% off. The code for that is 20 now. You can get it at livecortex.com or down in the description of this video. Cortex Stack, buy one, get one free. We run these twice a year, guys. The code for that is cortexbogo. You get literally a bottle for free per what you buy. Torque Stack needs no introduction, all day energy. I'll just couch it that way. If you go to the menu of the website, there are 6 video courses of yours truly and a bunch of downloadable guides that'll help you in every facet of physiology, ranging from nootropics to TRT. And if you need to hire me for coaching on all of the topics we typically discuss, you can do that in under a minute at livecortex.com. Okay, so the TLDW, or the too long don't watch, for the perfect TRT protocol, and then we'll get into some of the details, is the following. Number one, 126 milligrams, okay? 126 milligrams of testosterone per week, split up into every day or every other day injections, either IM, shallow IM in this case, or subcutaneous. People just respond differently to different injection methods. Number two, 700 IU HCG per week, and that is split up into daily injections. Number three, controlling for aromatization in your diet and not taking an aromatase inhibitor. Okay, we're talking about what is the best TRT protocol for optimizing libido and erections. It is to not use an AI. Number four, 5 to 10 milligrams Tadalafil daily. I'm sure you guys know what that is. That is the generic version for Cialis, a PDE5 inhibitor that enhances blood flow to the male penis. And number five, critically optimizing thyroid hormone output. So let's break this down one by one. All right, 126 milligrams. Where did I fall on that number? 126 milligrams on an insulin syringe of a 200 milligram per milliliter testosterone vial is 9 units, okay? That's 18 milligrams a day, 18 milligrams a day of tests going into your system, which equals 126 milligrams per week. Now, the reason I came to this dose is because, again, over the course of the last 6 years, I've looked at hundreds of guys' blood work based on the TRT protocol that they had, and specifically the testosterone dose that they had. And so you get to understand lots of different generalities. When people are pushing 150, they usually aromatize, if they're not on HCG, somewhere around between 30 and 55 picograms per milliliter of estradiol, which is good. However, keeping fertility, as well as enhancing sensation, as well as intratesticular DHT conversion, and of course the neurosteroids, which get optimized via functional testicles, which would be induced by dosing HCG, tends to also increase intratesticular aromatization. So you get a little more estrogen, in some cases a lot more estrogen when you're on TRT, but it is worth it. So rather than having this protocol of 150 or 200 milligrams of testosterone, which admittedly some people will respond fine to, most men won't. And having, the estradiol definitely go above range at that point, lower the dose, keep it at 126 and bring in the HCG. Interestingly, with 126 milligrams of test per week split up into every day or every other day injections, so you're not inducing these superphysiologic peaks of both testosterone, but importantly estradiol, which again has acute negatives when it's in the superphysiologic range, generally keeps the estradiol, which is paramount to have this in the right range on TRT in the sweet spot range, which is on the very low end, 20 picograms per milliliter. You could couch the high end as 40 to 45 picograms per milliliter. I generally like to stay between 20 and 30 or 35. That's kind of my personal suggestion. There are men that can get away with 40, even 50 picograms per milliliter. But at 126 milligrams per week, split up into every day or every other day injections, and then 700 IU HCG a week, split up into everyday injections, the estradiol is almost guaranteed to fall in a reasonable range. But that is assuming that number 3, you are controlling for aromatization. All right, look, like when you get on TRT, it's not just about injecting these exogenous hormones and then suddenly that is the end all be all to your health. I think people inherently know that, but it is definitely not true. Going on TRT, like, look, you're replacing testosterone and bringing it back to when you were between 20 and 25 years old. So yeah, that's inherently in and of itself going to be extremely useful for energy, for motivation, for libido, for sex drive, for that conquer energy in life. However, you're making an upgrade to your health by going on TRT, right? In order to get the best possible effects from TRT, you're going to need to target upgrading your health in a variety of other different facets outside of, hormones, but which heavily influences the hormonal state. And in line with that is controlling for aromatization. Okay, so the top 3 things that you can do to control for aromatization. Number 1, don't drink alcohol. Okay. Look, if you have to have a beer or two because it's some social thing that's woven into your life, like, totally fine. But as the research says, and a lot of people know at this point, the more alcohol you consume, the more you literally upregulate aromatase enzymes in your body. So you are quantifiably going to convert more of your testosterone via this aromatase enzyme activity into estrogen. Once or twice a week, a couple of drinks should be fine. You start going above that, and that's when you upregulate aromatization and the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. Okay, so lower the booze or fucking stop drinking completely. Okay, you'll live a better life. You won't wake up feeling like shit. Your energy is going to be very consistent. You're going to sleep a lot better. You're going to have a lot less anxiety. Just take it from me, guys. Get the booze out of the picture. Cannabis. Look, I have smoked, I'll just be very frank with you guys. I have smoked pot at various points in my life at significant quantity, right? Both before the United States military, then after the United States military, because like we couldn't, do anything. We were random piss tests at 5 a.m. in the Army. And if I could go back, I probably just wouldn't. Yes, it's useful for inducing creativity, and it can be useful for kind of modulating what may be rigid patterns of thinking. However, there is significant estrogenic activity in the consumption of marijuana. Right, so like, forget all the nonsense. If you're on TRT and you're trying to control for aromatization, just don't smoke pot. Lastly, this single biggest thing that you can do, right, arguably, in controlling for aromatization and preventing that testosterone from converting to estradiol is lower body fat. I don't think this is any new news to people, but you've got to have the basics hammered home. Do whatever you can to stay lean. All right, adopt the Japanese eating strategy where they eat until they're 80% full. The general gauge for how sated you are isn't like what your brain is trying to do. Oh, I want more of this sugary or salty or savory food or whatever. It is how your fucking stomach feels, right? You start pushing stuffed territory, you've eaten too much. At the same time, obviously, go to the gym, right? Move your body, lift heavy things, do cardio, whatever you got to do to get a solid workout in, you must do it to keep the body fat down. If you're significant on the body fat spectrum, yeah, look, you're going to have to take 6 months to slowly work that down. And it is worth it because you will aromatize less. 5 to 10 milligrams Tadalafil a day. Okay, this is a no-brainer. Again, somewhat of a common thing. Look, the PDE5 inhibition, in addition to some modification of the genetic basis of aromatase, which will lower estradiol, maybe a couple points for erection quality, as well as endothelial health, cardiac health. You're going to want to have Tadalafil in the picture. There are TRT doctors and there are specialized individuals that believe Tadalafil should be in the drinking water. It is one of the safest, most effective for erections, but also generally physiologically influential positively compounds that one can take. Okay, now the dose is going to differ between people, and you got to kind of see what you can get away with. After the initial period of side effects when you take Tadalafil, tadalafil goes away, you know, a good degree of people are going to find that they can tolerate between 7 and 10 milligrams a day. And that is something that a lot of docs and endocrinologists throughout the country prescribe to their patients, 10 milligrams a day tadalafil. But you got to see where you fall on that spectrum. You know, 5 milligrams might be sufficient for some people. 10 milligrams might be the sweet spot for others. Now, the last and critically important pillar to having optimal libido and erections on TRT, which by the way gets missed completely in the TRT forums on Reddit and elsewhere, and gets missed completely among men that are on TRT, like, oh, this is supposed to help libido and erections. Yeah, generally it does. Assuming that your thyroid hormones are an adequate quantity. You really ought to go and do the research on the association between subclinical hypothyroidism, which is a state in which your TSH, your reverse T4, your free T3 may look okay, but you're still cold all the time, or you're still having erectile difficulties on TRT, you're still having suboptimal thyroid hormone output and thyroid function. And in those cases, almost definitely you're going to have some degree or a strong degree of both a lack of libido and erectile dysfunction. One of the most critical advances in some of the newer scientific literature, but also some scientific literature that dates back to 2010, is that there are literally thyroid hormone nuclear receptors that are in the male penile tissue. All right, yes, you heard that right. Thyroid hormone output and an optimal state of thyroid hormone functioning contributes to erectile dysfunction via thyroid hormone nuclear receptors that are in penile corpus cavernosal tissue. If you want some social validation of this, you ought to have a look at the hypothyroidism subreddit, in which you're going to find posts like this. Anyone experience increased libido with medication? This is thyroid medication. These people are in a suboptimal thyroid state. They start taking levothyroxine or otherwise thyroid medication, and libido goes crazy. This guy goes, I've been taking levothyroxine. I've noticed an increase in libido and enjoyment of sexual activities. I've always had a high sex drive, but it seems crazy lately. Anyone else experience this? Check this one out. In the Hashimoto section, which is autoimmune thyroiditis, where you've got essentially immune system attacking the thyroid gland. Insatiable sex drive after starting medication. Guys, you got to look into the thyroid. Okay. My libido has always been low. Like I might as well have been asexual. I started desiccated thyroid treatment recently and only been taking meds for a little under a month. This last week or so, I have been sex crazy. I mean, like as soon as we're done, I want to go again. Repeat 15x. I'm not kidding. I know this is a woman that had suboptimal sex drive or hypoactive sexual disorder, which is very common in people that have hypothyroidism or subclinical hypothyroidism, that started taking medication, in this case, actually desiccated thyroid, which is not what the pharmaceutical industry prescribes. This is something different, that's very natural, and has been around for a considerable period of time in treating thyroid issues, actually since like the 1800s. That went from being asexual to hypersexual. If you search the TRT subreddit and keyword like thyroid, libido, erections, etc., like on TRT in the testosterone subreddit, you're going to find people that like TRT would help to an extent, but just something wasn't there. The morning erections or the nocturnal erections weren't perfect. The libido was kind of hit or miss. The moment they start treating thyroid hormones, whether naturally or otherwise, everything comes back. Believe me, guys, it is real. Now, look, there are various ways, whether you're taking armor thyroid, a desiccated thyroid, you actually go to a doc and get on levothyroxine, depending on where your levels are. You really have to dial in and look at your numbers and see where they are, and then also analyze your symptoms and see if you are in range, but you have hypothyroid-like symptoms, and make an informed decision on which medication or strategy, that it's going to work best for you, that you're most comfortable with, that's sustainable long-term, and give it a go. As I said in the previous piece of content that we had just put out this week, I run selenium and iodine every day, and it has made a critical difference in everything, not just energy and my body temperature and my willpower, interestingly, but also libido and erections. And lastly, this critical connection. It's actually been well studied. Look, if you are a hypo, so your thyroid hormones are not outputting the correct quantity, you're not really synthesizing thyroid hormones in an optimal way, you are going to have, or you increase the risk of having delayed ejaculation, okay? Whereas if you're hyperthyroid, like if thyroid hormones are being made in excessive quantity, which is a problem too, you want them in a nice balance, well, then you're going to have premature ejaculation, right? Where essentially you climax entirely too quickly. There are guys on TRT that have issues with this, that think it's strictly related to TRT, and though estradiol is the major driver of that past a range, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to orgasm, the thyroid hormones, guys, have a critical interplay with, climax ability, whether delayed ejaculation, premature ejaculation, or importantly, having everything optimal and being right in the middle, a perfect sweet spot. Guys, I can't tell you how underrated it is and how massively imperative it is for you to focus on thyroid hormone health when you're on TRT for libido and erections. Now, as a caveat, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to respond to that protocol. Like, men are weird. I have known men in my time that require 200 milligrams, 210, 230 of testosterone per week to get them in the 700 to 800 nanograms per deciliter range, at which range estradiol falls in the sweet spot. So it's not going to apply to everybody, but generally speaking, I just gave you the best TRT protocol for libido and erections. I am already in busy season, but I still have slots open. So if you need to book me, whether it is related to nootropic regimen formulation, all things TRT, but specifically TRT protocol optimization, energy optimization, sexual dysfunction, dopamine and brain chemistry restoration, digestive disorders, I have a host of different specialties and consultation options ranging from email consultations to phone calls to bigger packages, and you can hire me in under a minute at livecortex.com. Importantly, the Cortex nootropic stack is buy one, get one free right now. We run these twice a year. This is an incredible opportunity to get a no-brainer deal. Like, this is a deal, dude. Like, you look for sales and you kind of want them to be like pretty significant. Like Black Friday has like really good sales. This is a good sale, guys. Cortex nootropic stack, buy one, get one free. Code for that is cortexbogo. Go do it at livecortex.com. Links are in the description of the video, and so are the codes. It has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week. Like the video if you liked anything I said. I'd really appreciate it. Or dislike it. Yeah, all good. Thanks, bucko. Sub to the channel. You're going to love the content that comes out of here. Hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.